and I laid out our conservative principles and what we as a party believe. And when it was over, this nice lady stood up in the back, and she said, "You know, I hate you." I thought, okay, here it comes. And she walked all the way to the front and turned around and looked at the group and said, "I hate you. I've been a teacher for 28 years. I've been a member of this union since it began. I am a lifelong Republican, and this is the first time you've had someone come to this meeting who actually shares my beliefs." By the way, some of the people in that room are standing over there. They're Republicans. They're members of the California Teachers Association, and they actually want to help elect Republicans. And after I left office, I was invited to speak to a union group called the Service Employees International Union, SEIU. Now imagine a hall bigger than this, with 3,000 labor activists, most of them Democrats, big screens. By the way, Harmony, television, that's like 15 pounds. And I had this presentation about what we ought to be doing to make California more healthy. I talked about reforming pensions. I talked about making sure we had a healthy private sector economy. Because without a healthy private sector economy, you can't have a public sector. And while we can disagree or agree where the line is, there are a few legitimate roles of government that have to be achieved. And I had this whole presentation, and I was giving it. About halfway through, when I got to the pension reform part, a couple of guys in the front row hissed. Now, I wasn't in the Senate. I wasn't running for any office. I generally keep my cool. But I looked down at them and I said, "You know, the last time I was on the ballot, 100,000 people voted against me. If you think a couple of mopes in the front row hissing is going to offend me, you are sadly mistaken." Now, I don't know if anyone in that room heard my message, but when I finished, I got a standing ovation. And 2 weeks later, I got an email from the union president telling me that 40% of the members of SEIU 1000, who are the state employees, actually happen to be Republicans, and they believe in helping elect Republicans. We are 29% of the vote in this state. 100% of 29 does not get us to 51. If we are going to be successful at winning elections, we have to get out of our comfort zone and stop only talking to the choir and going and talking to the people who don't necessarily share our views. Because if we share not only our head, but we share our heart, we will make converts, and our parties will grow, and we will win elections. Now let me just ask everybody to just close your eyes for a minute. Please, just close your eyes. And imagine the California you want to see 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. Imagine the America that you want to see 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. Okay, open your eyes. Is there anyone in this room that actually believes that Harry Reid and Barack Obama or Jerry Brown and Gavin Newsom can make that each and every community, and give our Republican message. We can help Connie Conway and Bob Huff pick up Senate seats because a 2/3 Democratic majority in the Senate and the Assembly in a state run by Jerry Brown and Gavin Newsom is a recipe for future disaster. We can also help pick up congressional seats because Harry Reid and Barack Obama have done very few things right the first 4 years, and we shouldn't expect much more out of them the second. Now look, we can argue about who our leaders are. I've actually been a leader of the legislative caucus in the Senate and the Assembly. It's not an easy job. You know, we hear from time to time, oh, you know, that John Boehner, he's not doing what I want. Let me tell you what, I don't know John Boehner, I've never met John Boehner, but let me tell you what I do know. On his worst day as Speaker of the House of Representatives, he is better for this country than Nancy Pelosi will be on her best day as Speaker of the House. I think I demoted him and said Assembly rather than House. And let me just close with this thought. I don't want to do a shout out to many people's. Dennis Rebellion, where's Placer County? Dennis, stand up. Y'all just don't applaud him. He's a brand new county party chair, hasn't done anything yet to be worthy of applause. I used to work for his father-in-law. I don't know whether he called him Dad, but I called him the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan. And after a tough election, and it was tough in California, it's easy to turn and blame other Republicans for it. But it was our loss. We all ought to own it. And we ought to redouble our efforts at going out and winning elections. The reason I pointed out Dennis was because his father-in-law used to have something called the 11th commandment, thou shalt not speak ill of another Republican. I want to say it a little differently, pointing out someone else about 2,000 years ago, a fellow walked on the face of this earth. He said it a little bit differently. He said, why do you notice the speck in your neighbor's eye when you have a log in your own? And I think we ought to take that to heart, and President Reagan's admonition to heart, and stop spending our time looking at the specks in our fellow Republicans' eyes. Because I will tell you, the Democrats who run Sacramento and Washington, D.C., they have whole forests growing out their face. So you've elected a new team. Our commitment is to work as hard as you do, to help elect Republicans in each and every community. I am honored by the support you've shown for me. And I pray journey mercies on you as you go home to your communities and your families. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless this state and our country.